All right, everybody. Hello. Hi. Welcome to your Friday. Another episode of the Calm Down. We're going to talk about three random, fun, interesting, maybe completely dismissible things, but things that stood out to me this week. So here we go. I think I'm supposed to remember to say this. I don't know if I am or if it matters, but like and subscribe. Comment if you have something to say. That's your place to play. You may know that the small, negligible, overlookable, ignorable sporting tournament called the World Cup of soccer, football, foosball, or football has started. Something occurred to me because I watch that sport, but I also watch NFL football, American football. And the NFL has 32 teams. It plays every single year for about 4 months, September through January, with an additional game called the Super Bowl. You've probably heard of it, in February. If you would like to watch the entire NFL season, it's roughly $1,100, can be done for $800. Your local package is going to be about $100 a month, going to get you about $400. Then the NFL has licensed its games to several different services, which you then also need to pay for. And then finally, there are individual games that are really, really sort of, I don't want to be rude to anybody, but completely dismissible and irrelevant. And there is a YouTube service called NFL Sunday Ticket that you can also get that will then cover all those other games. That's not to say that the YouTube service only shows useless games. It doesn't. But all the other ones are on there. So you have to pay for several different services just to get the NFL for a full season. The World Cup is once every 4 years, involves every single nation that qualifies. It's a total of 104 games this year. 104 games. You can see all of it for $40. $40. Biggest sports tournament in the entire world. And as they advertise it, you get 104 Super Bowls. They literally said that. $40, you can watch everything on TV or on whatever streaming app you use. And you either go to Fox Sports and stream there. You can go through bunch of different subscribers. You can also do it right here on YouTube through YouTube TV on the Fox channels. That's a lot more than that, but the lowest you can get it for is about $40. The World Cup, the NFL, lowest you can get it for is about $800, and it's every single year. It's just an interesting way that people do business and do it differently. So my hat, both of my hats and one of my hands is off to the World Cup for that component. We did talk about the World Cup a couple of Calm Down episodes ago where we discussed the different complexities in putting on such a massive tournament and acknowledging both sides of it and the things that can go wrong and have gone wrong in the past. But this is interesting to me, $40 for something that generates an astronomical amount of money. And the Women's World Cup is the same. It's also $40. So NFL, where you at? So something interesting is happening in China right now. They are sitting down for their version of what we in America call the SAT, and every single country has a version of this. It's called the Gaokao, Gaokao, I believe it is. It is a multi-day exam that has to do with where you can go to school, what kind of jobs you might be able to get somewhere down the road. It's the first time that there's a standardized test that really tests these students in a way that sort of prognosticates their future. And what's really fascinating about it is there are a couple of things that have changed this year. So participation is a little bit down. It's 12.9 million students taking it this year compared to, I believe, 13.5 million students last year. This is China, keep in mind. So those numbers are astronomical, but they are relative to population, and it's a high school test. They're not allowing glasses in some areas in China because they are worried about smart glasses and the ability to record the test. In fact, there's a person who was arrested for selling supposed answer keys for what equates to about $295. It was just one person over YouTube, and it turned out to not be real. But for any parents who might be freaked out and want to worry about what their kid's future looks like, he was arrested. I'm sure that's not the first time that's happened. So they're accounting for smart glasses, but they are also having a series of AI companies shutting down an entire part of their company for those several days of the exam for fear of cheating. So this test is a really big deal, and it takes into account a lot of the future. And one of the things that they've adjusted for in China with respect to this test is, instead of having memorizing by rote and then repeating as part of the questions, they're actually offering different approaches to critical thinking, long form answers, different things where you have to compare and analyze as opposed to just learning a bunch of vocabulary words and then associating them by meaning, which is a really clever way to look at the future, because China is a leader in AI, as is America. But how we're treating our students is really different. I know that there's a crisis in literacy in the American academic system, but there's also a concern for critical thinking at large. So I wonder what this might do in China. We'll see. There was a UN convention on migratory species in Brazil that just ended. About 130 nations participated because what a series of scientists discovered was that about half of the Earth's migratory species are nearing extinction, which is alarming, to say the least. It's almost as alarming as the fact that no one's talking about this. And what they did at this convention for migratory species was they created a list of the 40 most endangered species and made sure that every single nation in the world has to adhere to their conservation laws by incorporating the status of endangered for these species. And this isn't just, some bug somewhere that you've never heard of. This is cheetahs in Zimbabwe. This is the giant otter in the Amazon. This is also the striped hyena. But what I really found interesting was so many of these animals have been sort of made human to us through the years of watching Disney movies and DreamWorks animation, and kind of getting these almost in a weird way parasocial relationships with these digitized animals that have then given us relationship. I remember in elementary school, pandas were a big deal, and then I've seen penguins have their day. And one of the things, dinosaurs, of course, also, one of the things that I have always cared about, or things I shouldn't say, but one of the animals that's always stood out to me that's kind of, I don't know, for some reason mattered. Maybe it's the association with Harry Potter, perhaps, and Christmas and the old world of messaging. But the snowy owl is also on the endangered list. And so is the great hammerhead shark. These are animals that I find to be iconic. And it's incredible to me that we're able to come together in what was an emergency convention because of this discovery that over half of the world's migratory species are endangered. But everybody got on the same page, got it done, agreed, and now, hopefully, we will see a better future for some of these species, because I don't like that we are consciously aware of the ability to save various animals, but we don't do it. I know that there's a natural evolution to things in a circle of life, but hammerheads? Really? So, enjoy that weekend. The NFL versus the World Cup and what it costs, $800 or $40. AI's big impact and the augmenting of different ways to cheat and how to approach the future through critical thinking in China's massive SAT equivalent several-day exam, and then the protection of our snowy owls, our cheetahs, our striped hyenas, our great hammerheads, and of course, the giant otter of the Amazon. Enjoy the weekend. You earned this one.